Rod and I are going to make our way through the crowd, and then I want you guys to all fall in behind, all right?
Getting ready to send it, and I have no clue where we're going. Definite police presence, but they're pretty cool. I didn't know there were this many people here today, but there still was. Okay, it looks like we're veering down Spark Street. No justice, no peace. Playing some Mitch Pagliaro. This Orwellian environment that we're living in. Look at this. What a joke. By the time we reach Bank Street, we're heading back up to Parliament Hill. Not like the mainstream media isn't around, they're here. I don't even think they're filming.
Nice.
This is why I never drive downtown. No.
Pretty peaceful today, right? That's how it's supposed to be done, right? This is the week. This is how it is.
Living free under the sun.
Exactly. No, we just figured if we put this on, everybody know why we're here, right? Yeah.
And we're back. Parliament Hill. This one is funny. Ambulance. It was just an ambulance.
Nobody got hurt, no buildings were burned, no one was assaulted, no garbage got left behind. To say and thank you so much for your support of the CCFR. As you guys know, we're suing the government. It's the biggest, most expensive case ever brought by gun owners in Canadian history, and we're going all the way.
I'd like Bill Blair to take his job seriously. He is responsible for the safety of Canadians, and he's failed them in every single way. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Tell him, Tracy.
What do you think about today's turnout?
I think it was awesome. And I'm very thankful. I was hoping we weren't going to be a couple hundred people standing here, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Rod. Is this where we get the Richard Gere pictures?
Yeah. Yeah. The poor man's Richard Gere.
So Andrew, what brings you to Ottawa? A fellow Albertan. I was born in Alberta.
Well, I'm not. I'm only an Albertan at heart. I'm actually from Ontario, but don't tell anyone in Alberta because they think I'm one of them.
Oh.
I am a big believer in gun rights, and I'm a gun owner myself, and I'm also an independent journalist. So it's a natural covering this event, and I'm here obviously as a reporter, but I'm also here as a supporter of gun ownership and gun rights.
He's not only an independent journalist. He's a true journalist.
That's right.
He says the truth.
Yes.
Even if the right would be wrong, I'm sure that he would mention it.
He's the most irreverent guy on YouTube.
Yes, Canada's most irreverent talk show host. Glad the tagline is catching on.
What did you think of today's outcome?
I was really impressed by it. I interviewed Rod Giltaca of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights before the event, and I said, how many are you expecting? And he said, I don't know, if we get 500 to 1,000 people, we'll be happy. I don't know how many people there were, but I do know that the streets were filled, Parliament Hill was filmed. At one point, when we had wrapped around to come down another street, we could see people a block down going the other way, so it was like that old snake game where you have to be sure you don't intersect your own tail. I think it was great. I think that when you have protesters for all kinds of causes that are coming out and sometimes getting a few hundred, a few thousand people, if in the middle of a pandemic you can get 1,000 people from across the country, people are here from BC, from Yukon, I think it's a very good thing, and I'm very happy for the CCFR that they had so many people out, and I hope that the message for gun owners to be heard is a message that itself is heard.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
True North on YouTube. Check it out.
True North and Red Bull.
The best. Yes.
Just showing everybody who the law-abiding gun owners are here in Canada. It's all the people with their firearms license, and all the laws are being made for people like us, and we're not the problem, but they keep making more laws for us, and it doesn't make anybody any safer.
You're also a veteran.
I'm a veteran of Afghanistan, and probably many people here are veterans, sport shooters, target shooters, duck hunters, and they keep making more laws for us, and we're not the problem.
What can you hope of the outcome of all these protests?
Well, what I can hope is that they allocate their efforts to going after criminals, people that smuggle guns over the border, and that's definitely not the law-abiding gun owners.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thanks for having me. The law-abiding gun owners are not the problem in this country, and I think we showed today with 5,000 people. Everybody is worried about us doing crazy stuff, and we're not the crazies. We're the good, honest citizens. We're the electricians. We're the firefighters. We're the bylaw officers. We're the police officers. We're not the problem. And I think today, on this beautiful day in the fall, it showed Canada that who we really are. Absolutely, I am, and I donate money, and so does my wife.
Good. I'm just taking some
Hey buddy, take a photo.
some shots.
How's your day?
Oh, it's pretty good.
You having a good one?
Yes. How are you?
I'm really great, man. I'm having a great time. Seriously, came out here. I've had nothing but wonderful conversations with everybody. It's been really good. What brought you out today?
Well, I live in Ottawa, and I'm just making a video. I did one for the COVID protest, and now I'm doing one for...
Can I ask you where you post them? We'd love to see them.
I post them on YouTube.
Yeah, what's your YouTube name?
That's right.
It's really easy to do. It's really easy to antagonize each other.
Okay, so you're... you identify as a Marxist.
I wouldn't say I identify as Marxist. I'm just super left-wing, and I think that we have a lot to learn from Marx. I think that, again, like I just said, we have a lot more in common than we have differences. And I hear right-wing folks talk about working people and working people's rights all the time. That's what Marxism, that's what Marx was all about. It was about looking at it through the lens of class, the working class, and the upper class, the owner's class, that takes advantage and exploits people through that power that they wield through that. So we're here because we think that we can have better discussions.
Okay, and what do you think about BLM and Antifa and all the riots?
Well, I think BLM is definitely an important movement. How could we deny that, black people have faced a lot of, systemic oppression in the past, the legacy of slavery is still ongoing. And I think anyone standing up for their own rights to be hey, it's pretty fucked up that folks are murdering us. In any context, I think that's really worthwhile. So, of course, I have to support that. And I think Antifa is kind of like socialism. Folks use it as a boogeyman. They use it as one of those terms that they can use to fearmonger us and divide us. I bet if you really wanted, you guys could consider all the folks masked up in their camo gear as the right-wing Antifa, I think that that's the same type of thing. They come here, they put masks on, and they say that we're ready for anything, we're ready to be prepared to defend ourselves, and I think that Antifa, the Antifa boogeyman, I think like shares the same sentiment. It just wants to defend their space, defend their communities, and they don't want their rights to be taken away by the government. And like folks are like feel threatened, and when folks feel threatened, they come out to try and defend their communities in whatever way that makes sense to them. So how could I fault anyone in any context? That's why we're here to talk, for coming out and defending what they perceive as their rights being imposed. Does that make sense to you?
Sort of. Yeah, it does. But I mean, like, there's been a lot of violence.
Oh, so much violence, brother.
In the protests.
I think there's been a lot of violence, but I think there's been like a lot of violence that folks have faced too, and I think that violence is like a very minimal part of those protests. You know, like I don't think most of those protests are violent. I've been watching them online. I've been watching the live streams, and like I haven't seen much violence at all since the like a lot of the violence is like cops fucking like shooting rubber bullets at folks. You know, like those tear gas canisters. Like to me, I see that as like a hugely disproportionate amount of violence than like a few windows getting smashed. Like that's always unfortunate, but like I think the disproportionate response from the police and from the state to try and suppress those protests, like, that worries me way more than a few windows getting smashed.
But you know what though, even though we might have differences, like I really do appreciate you coming here in a peaceful manner.
Well, again, I think we have a lot more in common than we have differences. I hear right-wingers talk about working people all the time, and like lefties are all about the working class. So I think they use those boogeymen, those Antifas, those socialisms, those communisms. They use these words that scare people, and they use them to keep us divided so that we don't find what we have in common. And I do think that at the end of the day, is we're all working class folks. We all fucking go to work at the end of the day. We all go and do our jobs. We all come home and we just want a better quality of life for ourselves and our families and our neighbors. And I think that's the bottom line. And again, I think that they try and create boogeymans of migrants or like queer people or whatever makes sense to them of the day, the satanic panic, whatever you want. They'll always find a reason to keep us divided. They'll always find a reason to keep us fighting. And I think until we find ways to come together and like work past that and find our like connection as the working class, I think we're always going to be in a hole, and we're always going to be fucking fighting an uphill battle against these fuckers. And I don't think we're ever going to win that fight until we
figure out a way to unite or something.
Exactly. So that's why we're here talking. We came to the gun rights rally, unapologetic lefties, because we think that there is a lot more in common than we give ourselves credit for. And I think if we had more chats, maybe we could find that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, buddy.
And right beside the leftists, we have this. Oh, one more second. The police were cool as hell today, which is a real contrast of what we see in other parts of the world, like Australia. But I'm really grateful that they're just chilling out and letting us do our thing, and then we get to go home and go back to work and